It is game week for the Tennessee Titans. So our first question before we get into today's show, do you think the Titans are going to beat the Bears in week 1? I expect to see a lot of yeses, but don't let the haters and losers drown you out. Type in Y for yes or N for no in the comments of today's show. The Titans have released their first depth chart, which means some things are going to be answered before week 1 against the Bears. Now, these depth charts are official, but also not actually official. Every year there's multiple things. It's like, that's not what happened in the actual game or over the course of the season. I think there are some interesting notes, takeaways, conversations we can have about what's on the depth chart for week 1 against the Bears. First up, Tennessee still doing the or at running back, which you don't see that often in the NFL. But Tennessee putting both Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears in that top spot with Julius Chestnut obviously back there as RB3. The old slash, I guess, technically, but slash or potato in the end there. Tennessee views both of these players, Pollard and Spears, as basically interchangeable. When they lost Derrick Henry, they said, let's have 2 running backs who are explosive, pass catchers, big play guys, speedy threats. They're going to use them interchangeably. There's not your power back and your speed back. It's 2 of the same guy. Both guys will be heavily involved this season. There is also still the or I guess slash, at tight end, which we saw in the preseason, which was a bit more of a surprise than the or running back since we knew Pollard and Spears were going to rotate. But it is once again both Chig, Okonkwo, and Josh Whyle listed as the co-starters at tight end for a team I do still anticipate to use a lot of 11 personnel. So I'm not sure how much I'm really going to read into Okonkwo, Whyle being split as the or. Might have just been a sign of respect for Whyle, or it's just depth chart doesn't mean all that much. Are still 5 tight ends on the roster. 1 at minimum, maybe even 2 of those guys are going to be game day scratches. I think you'll see Okonkwo and Whyle both get playing time. I still believe more in Okonkwo as another potential step forward season in Tennessee. If you got to pick one guy to be your number 1 tight end, who is it? CO for Chig Okonkwo, JW for Josh Whyle. If the ad comes on YouTube, great time to take advantage of that question and the one we asked at the start of today's show in the comments section. Do it right now if that ad comes on YouTube. Number 3, Ernest Jones IV is not starting at linebacker, which might actually end up being true for week 1, given how little time Jones has really spent in the organization. But it was Kenneth Murray at inside linebacker 1, Jack Gibbens at 2. They're not actually 1-2, but one was above the other, with Otis Reese listed behind Kenneth Murray, and Ernest Jones and James Williams listed behind Jack Gibbens. I would anticipate seeing Ernest Jones IV play. I think he's too talented, too smart of a player to not be out there. It will probably be a rotation. I fully expect the Titans, maybe they use Jones in like a specific designation, like third down, he's going to come in and blitz, not play every single snap the way I bet he is come, week 5 or even week 3 or sooner. I think there'll be more of a rotation at linebacker, but I do think we will see Ernest Jones out there. Now, we did not put him on the list for the depth chart, but Luke Gifford was on the Titans depth chart despite the fact that they had actually cut him. Clerical delay, oversight, timing thing. Gifford had been released by the Titans on Tuesday. He is now already back on the Titans practice squad. So that was the plan all along. He could still be a game day call-up. It does open up a roster spot. To be quite honest, not sure what the Titans are cooking there. They have an open spot if they want to use it. You don't see teams create a spot and then go do something big. Like they do something big, then create the spot. So I honestly probably didn't want to guarantee Luke Gifford's base salary for a season because that's what happens if he's on the roster for week 1. So it might just be a temporary thing for Gifford, or someone else gets caught up for the practice squad on game day. Probably wasn't going to be active week 1. Didn't want to guarantee the salary. They'll save a little bit of money in the process. Now, today's show is made possible by GameTime. GameTime has a new feature. It's called GameTime Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. The GameTime guarantee means you'll also always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Zone deals, by the way, keep an eye out for those. You can find them in the Game Time Picks feature. It's You Pick the Section, Game Time Picks the Seats for big-time savings in the process. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. That's code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, over at GameTime.co. Terms do apply, but again, create your account and redeem that code over at GameTime.co. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Fifth takeaway, then we'll go in depth on all the depth charts we have not discussed yet. The returners. And I am very curious what the deployment actually looks like. So Jaquan Jackson listed as both the starting punt returner and the number one kick returner. I do think most teams are going to put two guys back there. We'll see if that plays out the same way for Tennessee or not. That is my guess. Tyjae Spears was the number two kick returner. I think that also makes sense. If you need to put a guy like Tony Pollard back there, you can, but it's a little bit thin beyond that for the return men. Tyler Boyd, by the way, the number two punt returner for Tennessee. He did a little bit of that in Cincinnati. All right, position by position. No surprises whatsoever at quarterback. It's Will Levis. It's Mason Rudolph. It's only two since they traded away Malik Willis to the Green Bay Packers. Wide receiver, I think this actually probably is 1, 2, 3, kind of in that order based on the backups and everything. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Treylon Burks, Nick Westbrook-Akina. We'll see if Burks plays. I do think if Hopkins plays, I wouldn't be shocked if it just Burks slides right in there. Jaquan Jackson listed behind Tyler Boyd probably is reflective of the number two slot receiver, since that's the role Boyd's going to play this season. Now, we are less than 500, really just over 400 subs away from 10,000 here on Titans Today. Help us get there. Free Titans videos all season long when you guys subscribe. All you got to do, click that big red button right now. Zero surprises on the offensive line. It's J.C. Latham with Jalen Duncan as the backup at left tackle. Peter Skronsky, Dylan Radins, your starters at guard. They did put Andrew Rupich at both left guard and right guard. I still think if something happened to one of your guards, they'd probably turn towards Daniel Brunskill first, but he's the top backup center option as well. Nicholas Petit-Frere, had the job handed to him by others at right tackle. John Ojukwu is the backup right tackle as well. It's the left side I love. Latham's a first-round pick. Skronsky's a first-round pick. Cushenberry's a good center. I think Skronsky can have a big-time breakout year. Latham should be pretty solid. It's the right side of that offensive line that gives me pause. Radins and NPF were bad last year. Radins actually showed some better promise on the stretch, but their careers have not lived up to expectations. Let's put it that way. So specifically for the right side of the offensive line, what is your confidence level in it? 1 to 10 is your scale. Tennessee is thin in terms of actual bodies along the defensive line. Would not be surprised if somebody's a game day call-up from the practice squad. Sebastian Joseph Day, Keandre Coburn behind him. Coburn's just kind of like your top backup at every spot. So it might be like defensive end was just the first, so they put Coburn in there to have it look a little bit more fluid on the actual graphic. T'Vondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons. Guys are all going to play a lot of snaps relative for defensive linemen. Even when they're in two-down packages, or two-down lineman packages, it's going to be a lot of snaps. Edges, again, not much here that's surprising. Harold Landry, Arden Key, Caleb Murphy, Jalen Harrell, the top two backups. Ali Gay behind them. Again, we'll see where Gay is at in terms of picking up the defense. He might be a game day scratch, even though maybe later in the year he's active and playing, but he probably needs some adjustment period. So a little thin overall there at edge with Gay kind of ramping up. But you're going to play a lot of Harold Landry, Arden Key, and I'm excited about Jalen Harrell as well. All right, score prediction time for the Titans and the Bears. Let me know what you think the final score of that game will be. I assume you're picking the Titans. If not, maybe specify for me in the comments of today's show. To corners, L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe Awuzie, Roger McCreary are your starters. Jarvis Brownlee, listed as the top backup corner and the top backup nickel corner. I think that actually makes perfect sense. If something happens to anybody at the quarterback room, Brownlee's the first guy up. Then Darrell Baker, the corner the Titans claimed off of waivers from the Colts, listed as the fifth option. At safety, again, nothing overly surprising here. Amani Hooker, Quandre Diggs are your starters. Jamal Adams and Julius Wood at strong safety. Wood can do both, more so than Adams. Mike Brown's your other top backup there. And, I'm not even going to put on a graphic. Nick Folk, Ryan Stonehouse, and Morgan Cox are your kicker, punter, and long snapper. It did make Jack Gibbens the backup long snapper, which hopefully you never need him, but I did want to make a quick note of that.